All right, so what you're going to find in this document, there's a quick start guide. So this takes you through the daily CBM account health management MOS, which is really the meat of this document. Then it'll take you through weekly and monthly items, and I'm going to touch on that and talk about some of the tools that will be available in the future that are really going to help with the weekly and monthly activities that we're asking you to do. Scorecard and health monitoring, we touched on that in the last deck, the summary deck, but I'm going to go over some of the details of this so it makes more sense. We're going to look at the key performance indicators or KPIs. The supporting functional areas, roles and responsibilities. So again, I touched on the business processing team and the customer contact, which is the wrong acronym. I'll fix that. Commercial customer operations team. But I'm going to go over the triggers that we had spoken about, and we're going to go over how we escalate things and how things are tracked. All right, so here is the daily MOS, and it's really a meat of why we're here, but it gives you all the steps from start to finish of what we want CBMs to do to ensure that we're on our way to account health. So the prerequisite is your customer playbook must be downloaded to your machine. There's a quick start guide here. Is there a question? There's a quick start guide here that you could download the latest version, but that's a prerequisite. So first thing in the morning, you're going to refresh your playbook. You're going to click on the upper right-hand corner. There's a refresh playbook button. The next thing you're going to do once it refreshes, it takes about, on average, I would say 20 minutes, probably 18 minutes. Then you're going to run data for your customer. And you guys should all be familiar with this, but you would select your customer and then you would filter your data. Next, you're going to use your My Actions pane, so it's on the right-hand side of the home page. And then you're just going to take a look at how you're faring. In this case, I'm going to go through a very specific example in this training. I'm not going to go through every single action and tell you how to close it out, but we're going to go through a very specific example. And then when we go through the demo and the actual tool, it's going to probably make a lot more sense. So you look at the first one, which is R&O ESCs in the past or 1 year out. In this case, there's 3. So if you click on the 3, it's going to go to the R&O open worksheet. But if you click on the text, it will take you to step 4, which is the new actions tab, and it's the new functionality in version 6. So from here, it lists out for this activity, which is addressing estimated ship dates in the past or too far out. It provides the step-by-step guidance on how you would escalate and close that action out. So I'm going to go through the columns really quick. So the activity is the high level, what you want to accomplish. The total is how many orders meet that criteria. So in this case, there were 3. The training. So the cool thing is, I think all but maybe 3 or 4, standard work activities. So probably we have 85% coverage of YouTube videos. So for R&O ESCs in the past, if you click on the movie icon, it's going to take you through the step-by-step training of how to address that specific activity. And it'll take you to, show you which filters to apply. It does a demo on, how you go through the data. It takes you through what my thought process is in terms of looking at the data and what it kind of means. It takes you through how to escalate, the escalation matrices, the hyperlinks of the supporting documents, all of that. So it's pretty cool. The playbook filters is, it tells you which worksheet you need to get the detailed data from and which filters to apply. The steps, again, part of it is, well, okay, you have the data, but what are the step-by-step instructions so I know how to escalate these things? And then the escalation column, if there's a matrix that you have to follow, for example, for CSO on the repair and overhaul side, there's a different escalation matrix versus if you have CSO on the spare side, there's another matrix. So there's all the hyperlinks there and all the documentation you need to be able to escalate to the right place. Again, when we go through the demo, we're going to go through all this step by step, but the idea is that you would do that for each one of your actions here. So you would repeat the steps 3 through 4, where you look at the activity, you go through the steps to escalate or close them out or get them in the right functional area, and you would do it for R&O and for spares. Now, one thing I want to point out is, when I was typing all this out and, we're going through all the steps, it seems so daunting. I mean, it seems like there's a bajillion bullet points here, but in reality, like if you really look at this, and Alfredo's on the phone, this is US Airways. This is what his looks like yesterday. It probably even looks better today. I didn't check. But that's a big account. I mean, you're talking like probably 150 or so open Arno orders. That's huge to have a portfolio that big. And he has 3 ESDs in the past. He has 0 Z7 escalations. He has 0 past due orders that are over 60 days. He has 20 orders that there's a potential misalignment, but it could be a legitimate misalignment. So it just, once you get your accounts really clean, then the maintenance is not so bad. And I think, on paper, if you just look on the left-hand side, you may think, oh my God, this is a lot of work, and I don't even know if I can get through this daily. But once you get your accounts clean, it's going to take a lot of brute force for some of you in the beginning, but it's going to get easier and easier. And you'll see the benefits once, you have everything as it should with your customer. You're going to notice a definite improvement in customer experience. All right, so that was the daily stuff, and we'll do a demo on that. The weekly and monthly stuff, it lists out, it's very similar to how you would access the daily stuff in the playbook. So you got to get your weekly and monthly stuff out of the playbook. You'd run your data, you click on My Actions, and then there's a hyperlink for View Weekly and Monthly Activities. And then it's the same thing. It has your weekly, monthly activities, then it has the step-by-step instructions. What I will say about this section is, when it comes to weekly, monthly analysis, for example, doing an analysis on a site like Renton and seeing how Renton is performing for your customer and maybe identifying, top 10 parts and what are the root cause drivers. It takes a little bit of legwork to do that analysis. And so we recognize that, but we want to make sure you guys understand that weekly, monthly, there are things that we would expect you to do to really have, your finger on the pulse of your customer. But having said that, we also realize that to make it more efficient and effective for our CBM population, we have to provide the right tool set. So we do have a tool set coming down the pipeline. I don't know if you guys saw the sneak preview. The tool's name is called Athena, and she will be there to help provide that analysis for you, trending, looking at things like disputes, site performance, and all of it as it relates to customers. It looks at risk management. So a lot of the weekly and monthly things that we're asking you to do, it'll become more efficient and effective once she comes into the picture, probably in like late July. All right, so scorecard health and monitoring, and we talked about the 2 scorecards. So one, which is the performance scorecard, which is going to come out weekly, and it'll have week over week performance, and it'll measure the key performance indicators as it relates to your My Actions. So from an Arno perspective, we're going to be measuring week over week, ESDs in the past, Arno Z7s, Arno past dues that are greater than 60 days, and the ESD is 14 days out, Arno ESDs and CRD misalignments by 15 days. On the spare side, it's the same 4 KPIs except one thing. Instead of the ESDs in the past, we're going to be measuring the early ship opportunities instead. So again, the cool thing is the week over week analysis will be done at the CBM and customer level, and it'll roll up all the way to the region level. The on-demand scorecard, which is a second scorecard, is your performance as of right now. So many of you use the playbook and you have that your homepage is really your scorecard, and it kind of rolls everything up for you. What the Dex version will allow you to do is you'll be able to click a button and it kind of generates that scorecard and puts it into an Excel type format so that you can take the data and you can format it yourself and you can, roll it up. So from a sub-region level and from like a regional level, it will kind of show you your entire scorecard for your region or your sub-region. And they'll show like every person and what their performance is. So just more data and just a better way of looking at things. But the measures on that, we'll look at on time to delivery, past dues, open orders, Arno, and spares actions. And it's going to be very similar to your front homepage, except it'll be exportable, even though I don't even think that's a word, but export capable. Let's put it that way. All right, so supporting and functional areas, roles and responsibilities defined. We talked about the business processing team to the HR customer pod alignment. We talked about what our goals were there and why we did it. And it's really to drive more intimacy amongst the team so that CBMs really know, who their BP person is And then CBMs feel empowered and they feel like it's worth, investing time into their BP person to really take them through the customer nuances, help them understand how to navigate behind the customer wall so that less escalations and less customer hold questions specifically in Z7s come to the CBM. Let me see. So here's a sample. If you click on the hyperlink here, it'll give you your BP resource assignment. I talked to Eric 2 days ago, and your BP person should have reached out to you already personally to introduce themselves and let you know. So Z7 escalations, which are required and flagged on orders to solve and close out customer holds. But some examples would include quotes, exchanges, ORI approvals, pricing disputes, receiving exceptions, 8130 corrections, and then other document corrections. If you have a question over roles and responsibilities, you can ask Eric and he can help clarify if you have a question that's not part of this. I will say there's instances where a CBM, they'll be required to engage and help resolve. So they're going to have to get up to speed in order to really be effective. So the more time you invest with them, you're going to get the benefit out of it. And just to reiterate, the 3 scenarios where a BP person should engage a CBM, 1 is contract interpretation issues, 2 is customer disagreement, which is preventing closure and resolution, and 3 is the final REI decisions. All right, let's talk about the triggers. So the specific triggers that a CBM should use when they want to engage CCO. So the first one is voice of the customer. Past dues that are urgent, trying to prevent an AOG, maybe a very close AOG, scenarios where the customer really needs the order to get shelf stock back to reasonable levels. And I think, a lot of people have that discussion about, oh, that's so subjective and people abuse the system, but ultimately I very rarely see, I don't even know if I have seen it, where something gets escalated and it really wasn't a genuine need from the customer. So we ask that, CBMs submit your genuine needs from the customer, but if you know that it's hot on the customer's plate and maybe it's only in gate 1, but it looks like it's already going to be late, but they absolutely need it, you would escalate that to CCO. Past due orders that are greater than 60 days and the estimated ship date's not within the next 14 days. So the purpose of this one is if it's within a 14-day period, we already know it's, that's a lot. You're still waiting another 2 weeks, but this is all about trying to address a certain water line, and then when we get better, we'll bring it in. But we have to trust in the estimated ship date. So anything that's past the 14 days, go ahead and you can escalate that to CCO, and they'll try to see if that order can get better or if it has other issues that are preventing it from being shipped out earlier. Part number recovery plans. So this is a case-by-case basis. If you have heat sinks out of, I don't even know where they come from, I keep forgetting, out of South Bend, I don't know. And you need information about that part and specific recovery as it relates to your customer, that is out of Jason Wilson's organization. And something that got brought up yesterday in APAC was there's a CCO contact person for APAC, and I didn't have that person on the list. And so for EMEA, I'll double check to see if there's a specific EMEA contact. I don't know if there is. But for now, part number recovery plans, they should be routed through Jason too. Order pull-in requests, early ship opportunities, ESD and CRD misalignment. So you'll see when we go through the playbook in the demo that in order to escalate these items or to kind of get these items moving, you would contact the material planner as one of the steps. If you don't get a response back from the material planner within 2 business days, then you can escalate that to CCO, and I'll show you how to escalate it. And then ISC systemic issues stopping an order.